It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
Before we jump into our stories, though, I want to let you know about our Patreon. Full episodes are available over on patreon.com/marketexplainer. Our audio comes out, as always, on anchor.fm. It's distributed everywhere. But if you're looking for the full video, not just the clips, it's only available on patreon.com/marketexplainer. You can, if you spend enough money with us, you can join our board of directors. Not our literal board of directors, but, you can become an intern for as little as $3 a month. You can become a Market Explainer intern, which puts you 2 notches above the big man.
I understand. And marketexplainer.com, which you can send us messages about stories that you may want to hear our opinions on. You can actually, if you have a product out there, a book, a business-related book, whatever, you can send us a message about potentially being interviewed on the show,
and
that kind of stuff. All of that kind of stuff. So I just want to put that out there for the community. Marketexplainer.com. Go check it out. I like it. However, Danny does not. So you can take that
community. So Vox Media, which is a huge company, they own a bunch of different media properties, is acquiring or has acquired Group 9 Media. And just a fun little backstory to this. Group 9 Media owns Seeker. Seeker used to be called SourceFed, which was created by Philip DeFranco. And I introduced the big man to Philip DeFranco, and he said, hey, I want to do what that guy's doing.
Right.
So the whole reason this exists is because basically Philip DeFranco. Is that incorrect to say? Is that unfair?
No, that's not unfair at all, because I think Philip DeFranco, what he does, as far as his daily show, I'm sure a ton of people do. My point, though, is he talks about more, I don't want to say it's a political show, but he just talks about general news, what's a hot news topic of the day, that kind of stuff. And when I say I want to do what he does, I just meant getting on video, being honest about what you're talking about, right? And being informed, which is kind of where we stepped all the way to Market Explainer now being our brand, is going, okay, let's explain crap to people.
Correct.
That's out there, and then give our opinions on it, which is, quite frankly, news in general in today's world, at least not traditional news, but in news in 2021, is the person giving you the news also turns around and gives you their opinion on the news and how it should affect you. And that's just kind of the way we go. I think that's the future.
So Group 9 owns the Dodo. So if you're not unfamiliar with the Dodo, it's all of those cutesy animal videos your mom emails you 6 months after everyone else saw them. Or in the case of my mother, 8 years after everyone else saw it. It's a dog and a cat and they're best friends. Can you believe it? Yup. The video only has 800 million views, Mom. We all saw it before you did. And Now This, if you're unfamiliar with Now This, it was really popular in maybe 2012. Those extremely irritating Facebook videos of ding ding ding. Did you know that the blah 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 in the West Bank and the Israelis are mean and all this other stuff?
Again, Danny's views are not the views of a Market Explainer or anyone else. Correct. So all the jokes that Danny makes are Danny's responsibility, especially when it comes to other countries or accents that he does or whatever.
Or political ideas. So here's what I will say is happening here. You're watching what has happened is the consolidation of, Group 9 also includes stuff like SB Nation, which is, I forget the guy's full name, but Daily Kos, right? Which is a super hard left website. And Vox tends to have a left bent as well, which is the entirety of popular media. So none of this is surprising. But you're watching two massive companies join forces. And here's what's interesting. I think what has happened is the freemium model, which was pioneered by Silicon Valley morons, which is we're not going to charge anybody for anything. We're
Right.
just going to build users. And then one day we're going to charge them. What ends up happening is you build an audience and you train them not to pay for stuff that costs money to make.
Well, but look, they all get money from somewhere. But here's the point: you have two companies that nobody made. Look, there are a lot of people out there that have no idea who Vox Media is, or
Right.
Her Verge is, and all this stuff. The point is they might be familiar with, like you said, Dodo, or they might be familiar with Cafe Studios or Hot Pod or whatever.
Right.
What this is essentially a company that has made its business out of enveloping small companies and keeping those small companies' names. So if you're a person that goes and listens to Criminal Productions true crime podcasts, you're
Right.
actually listening to a Vox company. But you don't
Right.
know that because you're in it for the true crime or whatever. And these two companies are merging. Now, here's what's really smart or really sleazy, depending on what you believe. All of the acquisitions, there have been 4 major acquisitions by Vox this year, including Cafe Studios, Criminal Productions, Hot Pod, all of that kind of stuff. And then this one coming in 2022. Guess what, Danny? They're paying essentially $0 for these.
Really?
All of these acquisitions are by all stock deals.
So they're just stock swapping.
So, and they're not a publicly traded company. Now, both these companies at one point in 2021, during the height of the SPAC deals, thought about going SPAC and going public. Right. Neither one of them decided to do it because SPACs in this last quarter has kind of slid down, especially in these I don't have a whole lot of assets kind of people, right? It's intellectual.
So what's interesting with that is BuzzFeed acquired Complex Networks, which is really like if you watch like sneaker shopping with whatever rapper that I've never heard of, which makes me feel so old. And I don't know any of the new sneakers, which also makes me feel old. Is Complex. So BuzzFeed acquired Complex Networks and then went SPAC. So my guess is we're going to see them, probably not IPO, we're going to see them SPAC middle of 2022. My guess.
Well, so their statement in this story is they're not going public. Now,
which means I'm sure they're public.
I'm sure they're telling, because they're also in the same statement, they also are saying that they aren't going to lay off any employees, even though they have 2 companies that are obviously now they double the amount of people that they have doing the same job. Now you're talking about this now will create a company with only 2,000 people, which is not... Yeah. It's not 200,000. It's 2,000.
It's still like when you think about it, what newspaper has more than 3,000 or 4,000 people working at it, right?
And again, look, CEOs are going to say what they're going to say, right? A company, when you have a guy that's saying, okay, we're acquiring another company that has a whole bunch of people to do what your job is, right? There's obviously fear there. And a CEO always comes out and says, hey, nobody's losing their job today.
Right.
And we're not going public.
So here's what the other thing, though, is Vox has a union. So some of their writers are unionized. So that presents a situation where if they don't start shedding those Group 9 workers sooner than later, and those workers join the union, because this is a stock swap, but Vox's CEO is remaining the CEO of the new business, which is just going to be Vox Media.
With a 75% share ownership.
Yeah.
75%. Vox, in this new conglomerate, Vox maintains 75%. The owners of what is currently Verge is getting the other 25%, of course, right?
No, what do you mean the Verge? You mean the other group? Group 9.
The other group. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Group 9 is getting the other 25%. But these two, but really it becomes Vox, right? Bankoff is remaining the CEO now of this new company of the two merging, right? The other guy, Lehrer, or however you say his last name, Lerer, is joining the board, which basically you're coming under.
Hey, good for Ben Lehrer. He's had a hard career. He created Thrillist Media. his dad is only a venture capitalist, so he was only able to give him startup capital. And his dad only was an executive at Huffington Post, so it was really hard to get his son.
So I'm sure it's been a very tough road for him as a self-made man, right?
Yes.
But look, here's the
small loan of $1 million.
So. These people, these companies like Vox Media, and they're not the only ones in the last 3 to 5 years, have conglomerated these entities with virtually no money. They're giving zero. You and I have talked about this. Stock until you become publicly traded, 1. And 2, you have no idea what happens after that. When you give somebody ownership, it means $0 until it becomes publicly traded. You have gotten all of these companies.
Right.
To allow you to purchase them for virtually $0 with the potential of maybe one day, right?
Right.
And here's the other side of that risk. Companies that are like this are very similar to this. In 2022, the projection of generation of revenue is $700 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money in advertising, right, in 2022? Yeah. But $700 million, according to what is forecast, out of that $700 million, you're only talking close to $100 million in profit. That's what it takes to generate enough money for it to be profitable. That tells me that you have $600 million in expenses in a company with 2,000 employees.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing. You know, Tim Pool was an employee at a Vice and all these other places. He talks about some of the trickery, and trickery is a strong word. He talks about how some of these networks engage in traffic placement and other things where somebody will go set up a clickbaity website and you know them because your mom or dad got spam from one of these websites. Click here and you'll never believe what Rebel Wilson looks like now. Nope, I'm going to believe what she looks like because it's the same as she used to look.
Right, yeah.
They buy up those little websites under some other umbrella company, but they include the traffic of those spammy clickbaity websites as part of the network traffic of their overall group. So you feel like, wow, Recode, Vox Recode gets that many hits. No, it's celebrity dash scandal dash whatever leak .nl that's getting 60 million clicks, but it's part of the network, so it makes you feel like now this got that many views.
This to me, and again, this is not a direct shot at Vox, it's just kind of the way the internet works as far as clicks and eyes and stuff. This is the epitome of the fact that they can create $700 million in advertising as a freemium in all these niche websites and stuff, is the fact that baby boomers still don't understand how the internet works. So they're still paying for clicks. They're still paying for, because that's this company's only sale to you. If I wanted to advertise with Vox and I called them up and I said, hey, the big man in real estate wants to advertise with Vox, how much, where, yada, yada. Yeah. Their entire, because I get this call at least once a week, their entire pitch is, well, we can get this many eyes, this many clicks. Nobody wants to say or talk about how that turns to revenue or turns to clients.
I don't really care about click-through. Tell me about your conversion rate.
But nobody wants to talk about that because it's uncontrollable.
If you deliver better than 2% conversion, I'm interested.
Well, the national average is less than 1%.
That's what I'm saying. So you could double the national
nobody
average.
Will promise you 2%. Nobody. So there's not a company I've come across in digital advertising. First of all, 90% of them won't even talk about conversion rate. And then the ones that do, if they're really being honest with you and giving you the truth, it's less than 1%. Nobody's going to give you 2 because they would lose their shorts.
That's what I'm saying is they can't even deliver. So so what they do is they tell you about the clicks, but they just don't want to mention that it's 1%. But here's the thing. If that's the average, that's the average.
Sure. But that's my point, is that the boomers, the people that control all these billions and trillions of dollars, right? There are funds out there that are literally trillions of dollars, right? Funds that give these people money in the beginning
Yeah.
and whatever, and take on a lot of risk. But they're ran by baby boomers that do not understand the products that are being put in front of them
at all. So Lehrer, Ben Lehrer's father, I think his name is Lawrence Lehrer of Lehrer Hippo Ventures. I don't know how much they have under assets and management, but it's billions of dollars, and they're the ones who are the whole reason Group 9 exists is rich. Think about it this way: you think a rich dad is out there buying a kid a fancy car? No, that's a moderately wealthy person. A rich person is buying their son a like a $10 million website. Okay, that's right. What a rich person is buying their kid.
Yeah.
I don't have any grudge against a rich guy buying his son a business. When I have hundreds of millions of dollars, I will absolutely buy my kid whatever they. If my kid runs over your kid with his car, I will pay to get my kid out of jail, and he won't even see the inside. I'm that kind of person. So,
but look, we all should be, right? The fact is you're going to give your kids, your family, your whatever, people that you like, you're going to give them advantages if you can. And guess what?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. I despise the thought process of. And I'm not picking on any generation. I'm just talking about people in 2021, regardless of your age. If you believe that other people shouldn't have an advantage because their parents or grandparents did something amazing or whatever, you are wrong. You are wrong, and I'm sorry I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is it's true. I didn't work to earn a certain privilege, if you want to call it that, but my parents worked to give it to me.
Exactly.
They didn't work to give it to the stranger down the street. And what's interesting about what you just said is everything you just said, the people who believe believe the opposite of what you're saying, which is it's wrong to give those opportunities out or whatever, are the people who are running a hard left, I don't mean hard left, but I mean like a decidedly left leaning media group who the guy who's sitting on there now sitting on the Vox board of directors, he's my age, and God bless him. But because the reality is we don't know if he deserves to be there or not because Daddy set him up.
Well, but that's my point. Is the fact is you may never know whether he deserves to be there or not, but it is. I tell my children that all the time. Sometimes life just is. You can dislike it, you can not agree with it, but sometimes it is. Now, in this case, I was dirt poor. I worked. My kids will have advantages that I never had in my lifetime, and they will just have that. And this goes all the way back to this story. Vox, by acquiring all of these companies, has promised the same thing, by the way. You have Criminal Productions that puts out true crime podcasts that they may not have any advantages all by themselves, but they join Vox for $0 with the, hey, maybe one day if we ever go public or we ever go SPAC or whatever, and until then we're going to share some revenue with you, right? Whatever that percentage is, we're not going to disclose because just like you don't want your employees talking about how they get paid, these don't want each company talking about what they're getting paid.
Yeah, of course.
But the promise is you become part of a bigger organization. Now, there are other true crime podcast production companies out there that didn't get that advantage. Now, why did they not get it versus someone else? Again, sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's being in the right place, sometimes it's knowing the right person. Again, this entire story, to me, is a potential house of cards, or it's a potential treasure chest. We don't know until it becomes a company or it doesn't.
So here's the thing. We don't know, but at the same time, it's a house of cards. That's my personal opinion. And I'll tell you why it's a house of cards. Because the fundamental product that they're delivering to consumers is of little to no value because it's a highly competitive thing. And all it takes is a newer, more effective marketer, some Gen Z kids on TikTok, which blows my mind that they're in their 20s now, their early 20s, some of these Gen Zers, some of these Zoomers. It just takes somebody who's more effective at getting the eyeballs.
Yeah, well, their revenue is based on clicks, which is based on the dollars coming from people that don't understand how the internet works. That's the point. That's why I say this is a house of cards. However, sometimes a house of cards can lead to a treasure chest. This entire company, if it went public in the mid 2022, like you said, right, then passes on all of that debt to stakeholders that buy their stock.
Yeah.
The people that are currently part of these small conglomerates then get paid. So even though it is a house, and a year later it could not exist because something of the internet changes, something like conversion rate becomes a big deal, which I think is inevitable. Yeah, I honestly do. I think all of these companies that are basing their advertising on clicks will ultimately be replaced by companies that are leveraging AI advertising, stuff like that leads to conversion.
Happening. That's already happening. So it's just a matter of when does that become the standard versus click. Right. So like click-through is going to die. And when click-through dies as a KPI, a lot of these mega websites are going to crash because a guy running a single website about sports or about MMA, he can survive off of making $100,000, $200,000 a year because he's one guy, right? And he can afford that. But when you have Vox Media, the Vox Union, you got unionized freaking writers.
That takes $600 million currently to run.
Yeah, you're not a coal miner, okay?
You're going to fold.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, anytime I see, especially, there's something particularly, and pardon me for using a Marxist phrase, but bourgeois about people who sit in an air-conditioned office or likely they're home now. Like we need a freaking union to protect us from management because they might make me write an extra 100 words.
Well, getting into union, that's a completely different category. I just think my take on Vox Media is it's a potential house of cards that could pay off in the short term for current people if they do go public. But if they fold before then, if they fold before then, everybody makes nothing.
No, I think they're going to go towards being a public company. So, and I think they're going to do that via SPAC.